Hey, welcome back. It's a Money Monday edition of Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco. We're coming to you today live at high noon Eastern, high atop Midtown Manhattan from the Newsmax headquarters studios. As always, we're in the Question Tequila studios to start this Money Monday. Do we have stuff to talk about? Okay, but before that, we've been talking about the markets heavy duty lately. The markets closed on Friday over 27,000, like we've been talking about. Today at 27.3, looks a little out of gas, but I think any good news this week, 28 is in the foresights on that one. And cryptocurrency, 13,000 was Bitcoin just a few weeks ago, and now it's just trading about 10.5. It's been getting smacked around just a little bit, but consolidation at 10,000 was the thing we were looking for most. I like if it hovers in this area. Any good news? People are saying Trump might ban Bitcoin. Stay calm, okay? Namaste. He's not going to ban Bitcoin. Trust me on that one. But he may. Of course, we have our friends from the ABBC Coin Foundation who are sponsoring these great giveaways of the cryptocurrency ABBC Foundation coin. They're going to have a big announcement tomorrow that we're going to be covering, and we'll tell you all about it then. And of course, you got to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram to qualify to win in any of these contests. Joining me, as he does every day, a winner, my co-producer, the managing editor of Liquid Lunch TV, Frank Morano, who was not with us on Friday, and you were sorely missed.
That's right. I was meeting with families affected by MS-13. I figured it would be an appropriate thing to do on the eve of these purported ice raids, but I kept waiting. There were no ice raids. Kept waiting, and there's still plenty of ice, which is so important when it comes to summer. Now, there's a ton of stuff in the news. The president was tweeting. That's got everybody going crazy. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was playing the race card. That's got everybody going crazy. But none of those stories are the most important story that you didn't hear about, but it is the story that I'm going to be speaking frankly about. Well, take a look at this photo. And I am guessing it is something that you did not see anywhere this weekend, or if you did, probably on page 12 of the newspapers. This is Sergeant Major James Sartor. They called him Ryan, a decorated Green Beret, repeated warrior deployed to Afghanistan multiple times. And over the weekend, we learned that he was killed in Afghanistan. The 12th American serviceman killed this year alone. This brings the number of deaths in Afghanistan to over 2,500. Now, add to that the $1 trillion that we've already spent and the 18 years we've already spent in the longest war in American history, when we're basically acknowledging that whatever new government comes next, the Taliban is going to be a part of that. And my question is, what is the point? What does victory look like in Afghanistan? I wish there was somebody that got it. Well, fortunately, there was, or at least I thought so. Here's a tweet from Donald Trump. Take a look at this. We have wasted an enormous amount of blood and treasure in Afghanistan. Their government has zero appreciation. Let's get out! Exclamation point. Amen, Donald Trump. That's the guy I voted for. That tweet is from 5 years ago. Since that time, we've spent a lot of money and lost a lot of lives. And the question is why? Why does a guy that gets it, as Donald Trump clearly does, why does he not run away from Afghanistan? Well, we got an answer when he did an interview with Tucker Carlson the other night from Japan. This is courtesy of Fox News.
Yes, sir. We'll get out. Yes, sir. I said, what do you think of that? Sir, I'd rather attack them over there than attack them in our land. In other words, them coming. That's always a very tough decision, you know, with what happened with the World Trade Center, et cetera, et cetera. When they say that, you know, no matter how you feel, and you and I feel pretty much very similar, but when you're standing there and you have some really talented military people saying, I'd rather attack them over there than have them hit us over here and fight them on our land, it's something you always have to think about. Now, I would leave and will leave, we will be leaving very strong intelligence, far more than you would normally think.
I'm all for leaving intelligence, but you heard it right there. Donald Trump gets it. He doesn't want to stay. My question is, how do you tell an American serviceman he has to be the last man to die for a mistake? My question for you, as a taxpayer, how many more trillions are you prepared to spend? As an American, how many more American lives are you prepared to lose? Well, Donald Trump sounded a lot like a former president in what he told Tucker Carlson. Have a look. So the point is, what the president was describing there, we have civilian control of the military for a reason. We elect civilians to make decisions about our military. And it was General Eisenhower, the last and five-star general that we've had as president, that warned through the councils of government against the influence, sought or unsought, of the military-industrial complex. What you've seen is a guy that knows better than we do, the commander-in-chief of the military, saying his generals are not going with the policy direction in Afghanistan. I'm not prepared to lose any more lives. Let Sergeant Major Sartor be the last one. Let's get out of Afghanistan now.
Amen. Let's have a moment of silence. It's crazy. I think you covered it comprehensively, to say the least, and it's deserved, because you're right. That's why we're on air, because these lefties, they're not going to talk about this stuff. It screws up their narrative.
Right.
It's terrible. And, Frankie, just on that point, I was just listening to it and, being very considerate of what you're saying. And it is a very, very trying decision for Trump, because, the president's the commander-in-chief, but you rely on your leaders there. And he's saying, my leaders are kind of like, let's keep our foot on the neck there rather than pull back and let them attack here. So I get that. And he kind of said, we're going to pull back. We're going to protect our borders. I kind of see that side, too. And I talked to George, a doorman downstairs, a proud Navy veteran, and he's telling me, John, at the same time, men and women are still dying to protect that flag and desecrating that flag. There's this group of protesters that go to an ICE detention center in Aurora, Colorado, and they rip down the U.S. flag, and they wheel up a Mexican flag.
And what's even worse is take a look at what's next to that Mexican flag, if you could see it. At the ICE detention facility, now remember, ICE is a law enforcement agency. They put up a Blue Lives Matter flag. So what these...
Upside down.
ICE upside down. I mean, who's in charge here? Who's running the country?
Usually, like, if you're thinking about doing something wrong, you don't do it right in front of where all the cops are hanging out.
You don't rob a cop.
You don't go to the precinct and vandalize the front door. But I guess things are just so out of control now. The respect for the flag is out the window. And now at an ICE detention center, they're hoisting a Mexican flag and a U.S. flag upside down. And John, retired veteran of the Navy, he actually emotionally says, how could they desecrate that, what we all fought for? And, just think about that. Like, everybody's like, well, it's not so bad. She didn't mean to step on the flag. The soccer lady, she did it by accident. And the other girl picked it up. There was one thing just one generation ago, you said the Pledge of Allegiance. You said, God bless America. And you did not let the flag touch the floor. Everyone knows that. So it's really frustrating, Frankie. I mean, we're letting it corrode right in front of us.
Well, one of the fellows that wants the top job and was out there campaigning over the weekend was nowhere to be found, even in his own city. And here's a spoiler alert. I'm not talking about South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg, but I'm talking about New York City's Mayor Bill de Blasio, who, while more than 70,000 customers were out of power in the middle of Manhattan, he was nowhere to be found. He was in Iowa, and he actually explained in an interview with CNN why it doesn't really matter where he is. Take a look at Mayor de Blasio in this clip, courtesy of CNN.
Are you planning to return to New York City?
I'm going to get more information in the next hour or so, and will adjust my schedule accordingly, depending on what I hear.
I've never seen anything like this.
To get some information.
The information is people have no power.
People have no power. Broadway, like the lights on Broadway go out in songs. You know what I mean? When Broadway is down and the heart of New York City is pitch black and the mayor is MIA, that's pretty scary. And I'm not a great fan of Andrew Cuomo, okay? But I will say I do agree with him. And this is word for word, excuse me. Thank you, Frankie.
I was just going to show the front page.
Okay. In today's New York
very
Post.
Very rarely do they both agree.
Check this out. The New York Post and the Daily News both agree that this guy is really doing a disservice to New York. And on Saturday night, Governor Cuomo ripped de Blasio, and he said this: mayors are important, and situations like this come up. Me, I was on the ground. What the mayor does is up to the mayor. I'll leave it to him and the people of New York State to decide who should do what and when. And to me, that's a signal of the governor, Frankie, saying, hey, if the New York City people want to get rid of this guy, it's up to them to make it clear.
And that is the front page editorial of today's New York Post, calling for Mayor de Blasio to be removed by the governor. The state constitution does have the ability to remove the mayor. It has happened before, but it usually only happens when there's a major corruption investigation. Some people, including the editorial board of the New York Post, are saying the mayor's perpetual absenteeism, his disinterest, and maybe not personal corruption, but his political corruption merits just such a removal.
Isn't it kind of corruption versus the promises you made to the people that you would be their fiduciary? Isn't it kind of corruption to be out of the state a majority of the time, out of the city a majority of the time, in other states campaigning for president? When you're a lame duck mayor, it's like he's abandoned the city. I think abandonment is probably up there, Frankie.
Yeah, it certainly is. Action-packed show today, though.
That's right. Coming up next, we have Francia James, social media influencer, Playboy cover model, talking about all the things you got to do to build your business. And in the politics panel, Republican Joe Pignoli, Democrat Richard Roth come in to mix it up and demonstrate our bipartisanship. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. We'll be back right after this.